Daniel Dubois has given me some very, very interesting insight into his game plan going into this Anthony Joshua fight. I've just reacted to this off-the-cuff interview, and I think this might be the most interesting interview I've ever seen with Daniel Dubois. So stick around with me to the end of this one, guys, because I'm going to be analysing Daniel Dubois' psychology going into this massive fight against Anthony Joshua. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to A Guy Called Henry. Daniel Dubois, Anthony Joshua, we are only days away now. It's this weekend, and I, for one, cannot wait. It's a fight that we've all been excited about. It's a really significant one for the heavyweight division. And he has done his own off-the-cuff interview with DAZN, just like Anthony Joshua did. I analysed that one, and you guys seem to absolutely love it. So I thought, you know what? We're going to have to do the same for Daniel Dubois. And this one is as interesting as Anthony Joshua's one. Both of these men have been through challenging times as professionals. They've both had their mental states questioned. They've both had the effectiveness of their psychology questioned in terms of their professionalism, in terms of their willingness to be put into the fire in the ring. You know, with AJ, we've had, you know, the controversy around him losing, and then when he came back, was he really willing to commit to the punch? Was he really willing to stay in the pocket and go for it and try to win fights in an aggressive fashion? Was it good enough? You know, did his mindset fit his attributes? With Daniel Dubois, similarly, he's been accused of quitting more than once in his career. The first time against Joyce, where he had his head jabbed off basically in that fight and had a allegedly broken orbital bone, so he took a knee and he didn't get back up again. And then again against Usyk, he took a clean shot to the chin, and everyone said that he quit because he didn't get up, or he got up on 10, which everyone sort of perceives as quitting. So this interview for me is very, very interesting because the psychological part of boxing is huge. I've done my tactical analysis and breakdown, and, you know, I think there's a few components you have to consider when you're going into a fight, and a boxer's psychology is certainly one of them. So we're going to get straight into this interview. I'm going to react to this off-the-cuff interview with Daniel Dubois, and I'm going to try and see if what we can read into this. The things I'm going to be looking for are, you know, what does Dubois give anything tactical away? Is he confident going into this one? How does he sort of view Anthony Joshua, and how does he view his career so far? Guys, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, get your comments in the comment section below. Who do you think wins this fight? Do you think Dubois has a chance? Does he seem like he's in a good place going into this one? Guys, just a quick one. I'll do you a deal here. If you were planning on buying this fight anyway, all I ask is that you use my link in the description to buy the fight via DAZN. It doesn't cost you anything extra. It just means I get a little share of the revenue, and it really helps support my channel. It's actually a really, really good card. I'm going to be doing a breakdown video later in the week. But if you get in the description, use my link, buy the fight, help support my channel. Really appreciate it, guys. Cheers.
It doesn't get much bigger than Anthony Joshua, Wembley Stadium, live on DAZN. You've been wanting this AJ fight for a long time.
Yeah.
Before you became champion, before even he had that little dip, you've always asked for AJ. Why AJ? Why not anyone else? You really called out AJ before anyone else.
I think he's the main man up there. You know, the main guy who's holding all the keys. He's got the crowd.
It's an interesting one that he's saying he's the main guy. He's the one that's holding all the keys. That's why I've called out Anthony Joshua. I mean, a lot of people for that time and period would have said it was Tyson Fury. And I do think there's an element there of Matchroom versus Queensberry. And sometimes you get this weird allegiance thing in boxing. Like you see it with, I don't think it's to this extent, but you see it with Joseph Parker and Tyson Fury, where like they just won't fight each other. Parker likes Fury too much. There's a respect there. There's a camaraderie there. I don't love it when they're in the same division because they're potentially fights that as a fan you might want to see. So it's interesting that he said that. I do think that's down to the sort of the cross rivalry sort of thing, Matchroom Queensberry, that he said Anthony Joshua has been the main guy for this whole time. I mean, Anthony Joshua's not even a world champion right now, so very interesting that that's Daniel Dubois' explanation, but we'll take him at his word.
And the keys to, you know, everything you could ever imagine. So I need to go out there and take him from him, you know, turn him into an old man in the ring, and, you know, go out there and just rip it from him, get that, you know, that big win, that massive win to greatness.
Yeah, that.
Wow, okay, so he said I've got to turn him into an old man in there, and that straight away caught my attention because, now this is just something I've assessed in Daniel Dubois myself, and look, I might be wrong here, so I'm making a small assumption, but I believe that Dubois, I don't think he says things that he hasn't been told. So what I mean by that is, I think that the psychology of Daniel Dubois is super important, and I think in camp, in the ring, his father and his trainer, Don Charles, and his father are super on him, and they're filling his head with the right messages, with the right psychology to try and get him ready. Because, you know, we saw, as I said before, we've seen those moments where he's quit before. We've seen the moments where he's got tactics wrong and things like that. So I believe that they're in his ear. And so I think with Daniel Dubois, he's the kind of character where if he's heard something enough, he'll then start saying that himself. And I say that because I don't think he's an idiot, but I also don't think he's a super deep thinker. I think if he had it his way, he wouldn't do any interviews. I think he'd just get in the ring and fight. I think he'd scrap. And I think he has a very basic communication style. So I think if something's been said to him enough times, that's what he's going to start saying. So to say, turn him into an old man in there, I think that his team is saying to him, and this is my opinion, this is what I think if I had to guess, they're saying to him, you've got to make Anthony Joshua look like an old man in there. And then you say, okay, how do you make someone look like an old man in the ring? Well, what are Dubois' perceivable strengths over Joshua? It's gas tank and it's punch output and punch resistance. And so just based off that, I'm going to say that I think Dubois is planning on making this into a real war and a real scrap. And I think he's going to really put it on AJ. And I think he's going to try and land lots of punches on him. I think he's going to approach it very similarly to the Hrgovic fight, where it was a war of attrition and it was his superior gas tank and cardio that saw him win that fight. And honestly, that is, in my opinion, his best chance. He's got to do it in a very intelligent way, though. He's got to put pressure on AJ in a way that means he can't be countered too easily. And he's got to tighten that guard up. But I do think that probably is the right strategy. Put pressure on AJ. You know, I remember in the face-off, they sort of chuckled at the idea that AJ would be able to take the shots that Hrgovic took in that fight. And I definitely think he has a belief and a confidence that he can hurt AJ. And, you know, I think that he also throws quite nice bent arm shots. He throws a good hook. So I think he's going to be looking at it and going, do you know what? I'm going to get in there. I'm going to rough him up. And I'm going to try and hit him around the side of the head like Ruiz did. And I'm going to try and cause him problems. So yeah, I think to make AJ look like an old man, he's got to outwork him. So this is going to be a case of having more will, having more desire, and putting him into real, real deep waters. Let's continue with the interview.
There's been a lot of talk about AJ is back, right? There was a lot of talk, quite similar to you, right? He suffered defeat. He's had to change trainer and find himself. Do you think he's back? Do you look at this as the AJ of 5 years ago when he was the unified heavyweight champion? Or do you think he's maybe past his best?
I don't think he can be that same guy. I think he's still a good fighter, though. People are easily swayed in this game. He fought an MMA guy and he fought Wallin. And the last opponent, that was his first professional fight. So second or whatever.
Second after Fury,
Yeah.
So we're getting excited with his recent performance.
So that's an interesting perspective, and it's something that people have kind of been quite critical of AJ for, you know, the level of the opponent since he's had his comeback. Dubois sort of alluding there to the fact that he might not rate Anthony Joshua as highly as he once did. He said, you know, I don't think he can still be that same guy that was unified champion since he's come back and had those defeats. You know, and then this rebuilding process, he's sort of saying, I don't think he can be that same guy. And he said, I still think he's a good fighter, though. So he obviously has a degree of respect for his ability, but he's then sort of saying, I don't think the opponents have been great. So I think that Dubois is taking confidence here from the fact that he doesn't think AJ is quite as good as he used to be. And, you know, the opponents, the level of the opponents. But what I would say is that AJ dispatched of those opponents in a style that we haven't seen so much of him. Like, we all knew AJ could counterpunch, but to see him actually, you know, having a predominantly counterpunching style, taking minimal damage in his last couple of fights, two guys that, you know, people thought might cause him some problems, he went in there and completely destroyed them. So, you know, and then when you look at Dubois' comparable opponents, you know, Hrgovic and Miller, yes, they are slightly perceivably a level above, I would say, from what we know of them. But Dubois found those fights tough. You know, he really laboured to that Miller win. He finally got the stoppage at the end. And then that Hrgovic fight, for me, Hrgovic was winning the fight well, and it was simply an issue of gas tank. So, you know, would AJ have dealt with them as easily as he dealt with his opponents? Probably not. He probably would have had some more difficult moments to overcome. But the fact and the reality is he dispatched them very well. He showed an improved style. And I thought he seems confident in there and he's punching through the target. So yeah, I think I don't agree that he should be taking loads of confidence from the level of Joshua's opponents. I would be looking more at how well he's executing his new style in those fights. And because of the great experience AJ has, I would assume it's going to translate and up the levels and work up the levels. So yes, I don't think Dubois should be drawing too much confidence from that.
But he's fought no one.
Really?
Kind of what you said.
Yeah. But you know, it's going past all that. Anyway, I believe this is the right moment. This is all about time in this sport, and now's my time, and I need to, you know, make it my time, make it my era.
You don't go to points. That's not what you do. That's not what he does either, really. Are you expecting to knock out Anthony Joshua?
I aim to knock him out. I aim to knock out anyone I get in the ring with. So to go out there and, you know, not put too many words out there, not make a fool of myself saying what I'm going to do. I don't want to make a fool like that. I want to go out, make a fool out of him by knocking him out. So, you know,
That's really interesting. He said, I don't want to put too many words out there and make a fool of myself. I want to make a fool out of him. Makes me think that part of Dubois' apprehension, and he is apprehensive when he's interviewed. You can see he seems like he struggles to express himself in these interviews. And I think it's more a fear of coming across the wrong way. But then I also would read into that, I'm apprehensive to say what I might do because I don't want to make a fool of myself. That would imply that he's going to say something that isn't going to happen. So perhaps he knows that if I go on camera and I say a load of, I sort of trash talk him and say a load of stuff, if I get knocked out, I'm going to look like a fool, basically. That's how you would look like a fool in that situation. So potentially Dubois is open to that reality, or maybe he just doesn't believe in trash talk, full stop. But he has then gone on to say, and it's the title of the video, I'm going to make a fool out of Anthony Joshua. He said that I want to go in the ring and make a fool out of him. And he's just basically saying that I think I'm going to let my fist do the talking. Words are not my thing. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to hurt him. And that very much is Dubois' style. He wants to get in the ring and he wants to throw hands.
What do you make of his promoter, Eddie Hearn? Obviously, he talks a lot. We did the face-off the other day. What do you make of him when he's already, in his head, got a plan for AJ when it comes to Undisputed? So he's almost already looked over you and he's already thinking...
That's his man.
Yeah.
That's his man. That's carried him. He's carried his whole company, really. That's his man. You expect him to talk like that. I've got to break those plans and, we got plans too. I need to break his plans and, really go out there and take it from him.
Yeah, it's been...
And Dubois is using a lot of combative words. I'm going to rip it from him. I'm going to take all the... I think he was talking before at the beginning about how the key beating AJ is the key to everything, and that's his man. I'm going to make it my time. There's a lot of words that kind of revolve around taking control and ownership of a situation. And I think that for sure with Dubois, I really believe they're talking him up in camp. I think they're trying to give him a lot of confidence, and he's actually, interestingly to me, he's speaking more like a challenger than he is a champion. He's not sort of talking as if he's defending something. He's talking as if he's about to rip something off somebody else. So I think it's really good that he has a challenger's mindset going in there. I think AJ probably will too, though. I think it's going to be, a hungry fight. But it's weird because it almost feels like, not just from the way Dubois is speaking, but also just as an onlooker, you do feel like AJ is the champion and Dubois is the one that has a lot to prove. I mean, AJ does too, of course he does. And, if he beats Dubois, then, you put him right back up the top and you say the comeback is complete and now he can go on and challenge at the top level again. Dubois, it's like he's got a lot to prove because he's shown a lot of weaknesses in his performances. So, but it's really interesting, and he definitely seems to have that challenger's mindset, because I noticed in the face-off, they kept talking about how he was now the IBF champion. They were sort of speaking in a way as if he'd won it in the ring. I saw Don Charles recently interviewed. Again, he's talking about Daniel being the champion, and they don't seem to have any issues around calling him a champion with this sort of paper elevation that happened. It was done on paper. He never actually won it in the ring. The Hrgovic fight wasn't for the belt. I hate that situation, and it should be for a vacant title in my opinion. But yeah, I think that AJ's the one with the sort of, that's perceivably the better fighter, the better career. So yeah, I think that's, he's talking about taking that position and, being seen as the more dominant fighter over AJ. So yeah, but it's interesting to hear him in that challenger's mindset, and I think it will probably serve him well.
How would you sum up the last 12 months for you?
The last 12 months have been definitely the best of my career.
Yeah.
The best turnaround, the best improvement in fights, and some of the best training camps I've had. Getting it right in the gym, getting it right, on all levels. Yeah, it's definitely improving all round.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, I think you looked incredible the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Even in the Usyk fight, look, yes.
It's interesting because this might sound really harsh, but I think Dubois has improved in certain areas of his game, but there's also areas where he's really not improved at all, in my opinion. I think his defense is as leaky as it's ever been, and I just think he's not had the right man in front of him to capitalize on that. I mean, obviously, Usyk beat him by stoppage, landed a lot of punches on Dubois in that fight. And, we saw how many right hands Hrgovic was able to land. And, he talks about AJ's level of opponent. I think Miller is a very overrated fighter. I don't rate Jarrell Miller at all. And, in that Hrgovic fight, he came through very, very choppy waters. And in the end, he did get the win by stoppage, but it was on cuts. But what I'd say is that I watch Daniel Dubois and I see huge technical improvements. I think the main thing that this camp has got right for him is mindset, and they've got him to show resilience, and boy does he have a good chin, by the way. But yeah, they've got him showing more resilience, and so I'm not sure they're really technical improvements, but more mental improvements. And for this fight, the technical improvements now need to be there, in my opinion.
The record books will say it was a defeat, but even in that fight, going to Poland, fighting in front of all the Usyk people. What was that like going there? I mean, you've been away before, you've done America a few times before, but going to hostile Poland to fight the champion, what was that like?
Yeah, still a bit green. And even the training camp abroad that I did for that fight was different. So, some lessons learned from that whole experience, and it's going to make me a better person, better fighter. Definitely.
As it has. Did you learn any lessons in the fight? Things to take away from the fight itself, fighting the number one fighter in the world? Yeah,
definitely. I think fighting a southpaw, fighting Usyk, and then how it ended and everything, it's just an all-round lesson from the past that I need to make sure never happens again in the future, and going forward from that, become, the fighter that I should be, and, go on, become stronger, more focused, more determined, and the boxing life I've lived has been good.
Yeah.
I have to say, it encourages me that he's speaking more about, he just alluded to there, learning from how the fight ended against Usyk. So obviously, if you guys haven't seen it, go and check it out. He took a knee and he was hurt, but he wasn't like concussively hurt. He definitely could have got up before the 10 count, and he chose to get up on 10 to show like, I'm all right, but you counted me out sort of thing. So yeah, you see fighters doing that sometimes. But it's encouraging that he's talking about that being the thing he needs to learn from, rather than, they keep harping on about him being Usyk's toughest fight and the sort of low blow that wasn't a low blow and all this stuff. And whatever your opinion on that was, it's good that he's not sort of feeling hard done by, and he's saying, I'm learning from what the negative of that fight was, and the negative was that I gave up, basically. So I think that's encouraging. And yeah, he seems grateful for his career so far, as he just has a big smile on his face there.
It looks like it's been good, right? The performances that have been good. A lot of people have been speaking about you, Daniel, for a long time, right? You're that young kid that came through that Frank's been talking about for ages. What kind of pressure is that? Like, as a young fighter, I mean, you're only 26 now. I mean, you're still a baby when it comes to heavyweight division. All the top guys are a lot older. Was it a lot to do with all that pressure so early?
There was pressure there, but I didn't let it drown me or anything. It was just, I took it in my stride. I took it in my stride, one fight at a time, you know. Win this fight and then it's on to the next. So we're building, this is what I do, this is my profession. So for me, it was just, I know I can do it. So that's the belief that my dad instilled in me from a young kid. And yeah, we've been going through it as like soldiers, so it's been.
It's an interesting mindset. We're soldiers, one fight at a time. That is a good mindset, And I said it about AJ before, and Dubois obviously shares some similar thoughts in his mindset, which are that, you can't look at the overall challenge. You've got to break it down into little achievable bite-sized chunks, and you go, right, what's the next right thing? What's the next right thing? What's the next right thing? What's the next right move? And, he has done that, and he's beaten what's in front of him. And even when he's lost, you can't be looking at, oh God, I've fallen so far now, I've lost, I've got to climb all the way back. You've just got to look at what's the next thing I do in my career. So definitely a good way of looking at it, and I'm sure he'll do the same thing here. He won't be looking beyond Anthony Joshua, just like I'm sure Anthony Joshua's not looking beyond Daniel Dubois, because, it's a serious fight for both men.
Good.
Even though you say no pressure, look, you're only human. You hear all the negativity, especially with the Joyce fight, and what not just fans were saying. I mean, you can take it from fans, but when fighters and former fighters are saying, "Oh, Dubois is a quitter, his mentality is weak," how do you deal with that? How do you deal with going onto social media and reading negative things about you?
Well, I never do that, to be honest. I stay off social media myself.
Teach me, how do you do it? Teach me, I need to stay off
I stay off social media, bro. Avoid all that too much.
But you hear it, though.
Yeah, you hear it. But, it just spurs me on, hearing that negative, talk and stuff.
The Joyce...
That's very interesting. He says the negative talk spurs him on. I wonder if that's true. I think negativity would get to anybody on the scale that he's experienced it. Being called a quitter, whether it's true or not, I don't think there's anything wrong with quitting in a boxing ring. I think there's something wrong with it in terms of what you might be able to achieve at the top level, but I don't think you're any less of a man because you quit in a fight where maybe you've broken your eye socket or something like that. I mean, I just think it's, look, I'm not a professional fighter, and these are the kind of little intangibles and margins that kind of decide, are you a top level guy or are you going to be decent, potentially. So yeah, I think that I wonder if that's actually true what he said, and I wonder if it is as easy as it just motivates me. Maybe that's a mindset he's developed. Maybe he doesn't think about it that much. I don't know, but either way, he's found a way through it, and he's proven the doubters wrong recently because he certainly didn't quit in his last two fights.
Defeat happened. It was a big fight at the time as well. Joyce, a fantastic fighter. you rebuild from then, right? You have big fights. You go to America, Trevor Bryan. I like that fight. Don King, weird energy. Yeah. Then you have the Kevin Lerena fight. And you have to come through adversity there as well. Yeah. So you've been coming through adversity your whole career. Where'd you get that from?
I'd say my dad, soldier lifestyle, the way I was brought up, and the way I was brought up, and you know, the way my dad is, the mentality and all that, and just life itself, the life we live, discipline, the boxing, it keeps you on track.
I've seen your dad, he's a big man.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're big, he's bigger than you.
He's bigger
than you. What was that like, childhood? Strict?
It has to be, isn't it? You know yourself, you has to be strict to keep a control and keep a lid on everything. So it was great. It was great. I had some great experiences, you know, my dad being a artwork, selling, street trader, going to markets, and we did so many things.
Fun times.
Yeah, fun times.
Yeah. Did you always want to box?
That's so interesting, hearing a bit about him and his dad's relationship there, the upbringing he had, his dad being a street trader at artwork and stuff like that. I didn't know that. And it's actually nice to see Dubois relaxing and opening up a little bit. I think Ade's done a really, really good job in this interview. But, you know, the thing with the dynamic with his father is that clearly a lot of that motivation, resilience comes from his father. It's an external source of it. And, you know, since they've had him in the corner as a motivating presence, it's definitely worked well for Daniel Dubois, and I don't think anybody would disagree with that. So well done. That was something that Don King decided to do. Don King, sorry, just heard Ade talking about Don Charles decided to do. Sorry, and you know it's definitely an added ingredient in the camp. And I one thing I would say is I think that having things like that come from an external source can only carry you so far, and it really does need to come from within. So I'm sure as Dubois has more and more successes in the ring, overcomes more and more hard times, he's probably building that internal resilience too. So just to say it comes from the dad probably is going to become an unfair comment, although I do think that he helps Dubois to remind, he reminds Daniel Dubois of what he's been through, and he gives him that kick up the arse probably that he needs sometimes in the ring. So yeah, definitely an added ingredient in his camp.
Was there anything else that Daniel Dubois would be doing?
I love sports, so
the whole family does sports.
Yeah. I used to do swimming. I even tried a bit of gymnastics.
Really. I can't imagine you 20 stone Johnny.
I was very stiff, to be honest, but I gave it a go.
That's funny. Like, it's not often you see Daniel Dubois open up and have a laugh like that. So that is funny, and I'm seeing a massive man like Daniel Dubois doing gymnastics would be quite funny. But yeah, clearly a talented athlete, though, I'll say.
I mean, most people have you as a top 5, top 6 heavyweight.
Yeah.
Now, which again, you go back a couple of years, is incredible. You must be proud about where you are right now.
Yeah, keep winning. I'm proud of coming through the battles, coming out of darkness into the light. And
what do you mean by that?
Just the bad press, and coming back from a defeat, and all the words that people putting out there on my name and all that. Yes, just keep talking now. Keep talking what they got to say now. And
no one's talking anymore.
Yeah,
no one's talking.
Yeah.
Interesting that Ade said to him there, are you proud of all the things you've done so far? And the first thing Dubois said, and it didn't even really make sense in a sentence, but he said, keep winning. So he's not resting on his laurels at all here, and all he's thinking about is getting victory in this next fight. And I think he's definitely has the mindset of, what I've done so far doesn't mean a lot if I don't go and beat Anthony Joshua. That's the vibe I'm getting from him. He seems super focused, super determined. That phrase, moving from the darkness into the light. He's definitely got a really healthy and strong perspective on all the experiences he's had. And he talked before about timing, about this being his time and making this his time. I definitely think all the psychological pieces appear to be in play for him to go on and have a big performance here. And, to feel like you're supposed to be somewhere, not to have that imposter syndrome, I think that's going to be huge for him in this fight.
You had to dig really deep in that Jarrell Miller fight. This is a guy that's 100 pounds heavier than you, which is incredible because you're a big guy yourself. Even at the weigh-in, you must have thought, geez, this guy's big.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and his character as well.
Yeah.
He's no one wants to fight him,
he's
really.
He's a talker.
He's just a talker, no one wants to fight him.
Yeah.
And he has that Brooklyn swag as well, so, yeah. It was a great fight, great ending, great show, and that was part of my deliverance, so I'm grateful for it.
You were on.
That's nice. That was part of my deliverance. I'm grateful for it. So he obviously reflects on that and has positive feelings about it, and rightly so. You know, he went there and got the stoppage. And yeah, look, I don't rate Miller. I don't think he's a very good boxer, but he is massive and he has got a great chin. So he's going to be testing for anyone. He throws a lot of punches. It's definitely a real war of attrition when you fight Jarrell Miller. So, and I think that was actually a very good piece of matchmaking. As much as I don't think Jarrell Miller should be allowed anywhere near a boxing ring after his bans, it's a very difficult one, that, guys. You know, he served his time. He did what he was supposed to do. But would you be confident he's not juicing anymore? No. Should he be in a ring? In my opinion, no. Because there's ones where they're ambiguous. There's ones where you're not sure, where you can understand why, even if someone was juicing, you know, you're not quite clear on what the situation was because they've masked it or whatever it is. So you give out the punishment accordingly. But Jarrell Miller, there was no question. He had all sorts of stuff in his body. So yeah, that's the side point. I'm going off track, but let's get back to the interview.
That's in my character as a fighter, to always go for the knockout. Any point in a fight, you can hold your hands up, you can go for the knockout. And we were both tired. I was exhausted, but I still had more left, and I just dug deep and, you know, went for it. You know, just to.
That is one thing I will say about Dubois as well. You know, even when he's tired, even when he's got perceivably nothing left in the gas tank, he can still throw punches. And that's probably one of the big differences between him and AJ. When AJ empties that gas tank, he's dead on his feet. He can't throw. AJ's punches are so much sharper and faster. I feel like they're way more fast twitch, whereas Dubois are way more clubbing. I do believe they use less energy to throw his punches, and his output is just quite high, Daniel Dubois, and definitely higher than AJ's. So yeah, that's actually a crucial component in his game and something that gives him a chance in this fight.
Stamp it and then beat him properly, beat him like I'm his daddy.
I don't listen to me. All right, you do that, and then you move on to Filip Hrgovic, a guy that no one wanted to fight.
Yeah.
And I know that for a fact. Filip Hrgovic was getting offers and people were turning them down left, right and centre. You put your hand up to fight Filip Hrgovic. Why? Why was you so confident going into that fight against him?
Because I felt like I could beat him. We knew we could beat him, and just, you know, he's the boogeyman, and what a win that will be. He's ranked high in the IBF, and that's like the doorway to the world title. So it made complete sense to go for that. And why go backwards fighting guys that you can't get up for, and, you know, European level? Then that's just backwards. I don't want to go back. I've already cleared that level. I've already done that. Now it's the world stage I need to conquer.
Final couple of points. Don Charles.
And I love hearing that hunger from Dubois there. He's like, why would I take a step backwards? I don't want to take fights I can't get up for. And, you know, I think one thing with Dubois is I believe everything he says, because I just don't think he's that calculated. I don't think he's got that degree of, deceit in him where he would say things purely to try and get into someone else's head. I think he just says it as he sees it. And if he says, I can't get up for that kind of fight, I really believe him. So I think he's going to be fully motivated and fully on it for this fight and fully hungry, you know. And he's, again, I said it earlier, you're getting the sense that he's the challenger, that he's got that challenger's mindset. And it can be really powerful stuff, you know, when you've not made it to your mountaintop yet, when you're really hungry and you really want it, you know. And maybe that can be a little edge he has over AJ in this fight. If AJ is just still in for the money. I mean, I talked about AJ's motivations watching his off-the-cuff interview, and he talks about how he wants to fight still for bigger causes, for charities and things like that. You know, I don't think that is as powerful as this mindset that Dubois has, where you're still hungry, where you haven't quite made it, you still got that challenger's mindset. I think they're incomparable in terms of the extra lengths you're willing to go to in the ring as a professional boxer. I
was lucky enough to be invited to the gym many years ago and see Don talk about you in such high regard. I think back then you were 18.
Yeah.
You've now gone back to Don. You're now a grown man at 26. What has Don done to you? Because he seems to have unlocked the new Daniel Dubois. What's he done?
I think just the old school mentality.
Yeah, he doesn't play around.
Yeah, old school mentality. You gotta take that on board. The basics, the fundamentals, and the foundation is really solid. So I feel like that's what is needed in this heavyweight division, especially. There's not too many fancy stuff you can do in the ring, but the basics, and if you can get them right, you're flying.
Now that you know it's AJ, have you visualised beating AJ?
And actually, just on that point there, he said the basics, getting them right, you're flying. I mean, I actually really agree with that, and I think Dubois' best chance in this fight is to get the basics right. You know, I think if he can use his jab effectively, if he can double it up, if he can keep his guard really tight and keep himself defensively sound, keep his front foot close to AJ's and really pressure him, I think it will be a case of a simple style could be the key to victory for Daniel Dubois. I don't think he needs to be super, I don't think he needs a super detailed game plan against AJ. I just think he needs to sharpen some of his tools. And for me, it's just improving that defense. He's got to improve his defense. If he improves his defense, he can set a high work rate. He can make Anthony Joshua work really hard. He can stay in Anthony Joshua's space so that counter-punching becomes a bit more difficult. Then I think that's a route to victory for him. And, I don't see Dubois as a counter-puncher. I don't see Dubois as a really calculated fighter. But as I say, getting those basics right, absolutely key.
AJ, Wembley Stadium, holding up the IBF heavyweight title, and what that means for you.
I will be. Once the camp is rolling and training is going well, I'll get right into the zone and right into the feel of the fight. Now that it's on, it's becoming real. Yeah.
Can we come to camp? Can we get a little behind the scenes look? Okay, I'll ask. Look, Daniel.
No spies.
Daniel's calling Ade a spy. I wonder if that's because he sees Ade. Well, he knows Ade's mate with AJ. I'm sure he does. And Ade and AJ are fairly close, as I understand it. So I'm sure Dubois has got some sense of that. And he doesn't want Ade in his camp. And it's quite funny the way he just went, nope.
We're not spies. We're fair ground. Daniel, honestly, good luck. Congratulations with your career so far. I know you're going to put on a fantastic performance.
Yeah.
And congratulations on being IBF heavyweight champion of the world.
Right, bro.
And that's the end of the interview. And it was good stuff, guys, really. I said it at the beginning in my little intro, but I think that is the best interview I've seen with Daniel Dubois. Felt like he opened up a bit. And I definitely come away from that feeling like he's in a really strong place mentally, just like I did with AJ. I think they're both where they need to be mentally for this fight. I know this was filmed some time out from the fight, so I'm going to be interested to look at more stuff in fight. We can see how both guys are behaving when they go into that more combative mode. But I think that, Dubois, even though he's holding that IBF belt, as I said many times in my reaction, he's got that challenger's mindset, which is what he's going to need to beat Anthony Joshua. He needs to be hungry. I think that he's got his team right now. You saw the influence his father has. He talked about Don Charles. I think overall, this doesn't make me feel any differently about the fight in terms of where it's going to be won and lost. I already have a strong feeling that in terms of technically and in terms of how they match up in their styles, I think that Dubois really suits AJ and the way AJ's fighting now. But equally, if Dubois is going to go and cause AJ a lot of problems, he's shown me the right mindset in that interview. The hunger, the desire, the it's my time, the lack of intimidation. I think that right now, I get the feeling he's going to rise to the occasion. And if he loses, it'll be because he loses to somebody who's a better fighter than him rather than it being a lack of desire. So anyway, guys, I'd love to know what you thought about that interview. Get your comments in the comments section below. Like the video. Please subscribe to my channel, A Guy Called Henry. And I hope you're all looking forward to this fight card. I've got a couple more videos planned for this week. I'm more than likely going to do a live stream on the day. And 6 Things We Learned will be out straight after the fight. I have to say, guys, I hope I was on form today. I'm absolutely knackered. I'm dying at the minute. I'm burning the candle at both ends, doing this channel and doing my normal work. But it's worth it. And I have to say, I'm so grateful for the speed we're growing at. We're over 3,000 subscribers now. I've only been back, I think, 9 weeks. So it's been a rapid rate of growth. I've got people from all over the industry reaching out to me and stuff. It's cool. It's really exciting. And I'm just so grateful to have all of you on board with me for this journey. So yes, September 21st, we will be watching this card and I can't wait for it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. And as I always say, on to the next one.